The Hebrew scriptures that are the foundation of today's Judaism and Christianity teach that the Jews are God Jehovah's chosen people, his beloved, the apple of his eye. Yet, when Adolf Hitler was sending the Jews to concentration camps to die by the tens of thousands, the God of the Hebrew scriptures did not save them. Have you ever wondered why? We have no reason to think that these Jews were not praying sincerely for their God Jehovah's protection from this madman and his mass genocide plan for the Jews. But no helping hand of protection came for them. To make sense of how a holy righteous God, such as Jehovah, could allow this to occur to his beloved, the apple of his eye, the Christians are taught that it is because the Jews killed Jesus, God's only begotten Son, that God allowed this by turning his back on the Jews, agreeing to a Holocaust to be their reality. Christianity teaches that it is because they crucified God's Son that their prayers will not work in bringing protection. They get this notion from the Bible's New Testament book of Romans, chapter 11. This makes me wonder why Christian prayers also didn't work during the days of Emperor Nero and Emperor Denarius, when these emperors ordered the slaughter of thousands of Christians, turning their deaths into what some historians called a sport, feeding Christians to lions and burning them on stakes in coliseums before audiences. These Christians had not killed God's Son but tried to live their lives for him. There is no reason for us to think that they were not praying for protection, but no hand of protection came for them either. To repair the contradictory concept of how an all-powerful, holy, benevolent, righteous, and just God could allow such an atrocity, the Christian says and teaches, those that were slaughtered by the Roman government went to their death happy, not feeling the pain of the fire's flame or the lion's teeth. This is how they say those Christians were protected. It is insane thinking we are brought to when we are forced to ponder on the conceptual contradictions of the God of religion. Someone may ask, is prayer real? The experiences religious folk undergo when praying to their God is undeniably real. In fact, the activity in the brain, which manifests the sensations you feel, makes it real. What I mean is this: the experiences religious folk undergo with the God of their religion, even if their God is a tree or a doorknob, are very real. But understanding what real is, that's the key. Talking with God in prayer is a neurological experience that is just as real as any physical sensation that we would encounter in the world we live in. Yes, the physical sensations of talking with God are as real as the physical sensations felt when responding to the world we sense. It is, as I once heard in a movie classic, which stated, real is nothing more than electrical signals interpreted by your brain. The frontal lobe is a region of the brain found inside the forehead. This part of the brain is intensely active when we hold conversations with one another. The frontal lobe sector of the brain allows us to speak as well as listen. The first thing you should understand is this: in prayer with God, this part of our brain acts just as it would when holding a normal conversation with a person. What I mean is this: the exact same neuron cells fire, which gives the same sensations in each case of talking with God or in talking with a regular person. The individual's sentimental sensations in prayer and worship with God may be emotionally heightened because the worshiper believes they are not just talking to a regular person, but God Almighty. The Christian church community usually contribute this heightened emotion to the Holy Ghost. Similarities of these heightened emotions can be found when talking to, let's say, Michael Jordan or one of your favorite idols. Numerous scientific studies have proven, to the brain, talking with God is indistinguishable to talking with a person. When one ponders on God, there are no special neurons firing as one would expect. But on the contrary, the exact same neurons fire as if you were talking with a person, or if kids are talking with imaginary friends. Apart from heightened emotions to the brain, there is no distinction between talking to the God of religion and anyone else. I do not make this point to rule out the existence of a creator, but on the contrary, I promote the Creator. I am a fan. I bring this prayer and worship topic to the table to share the fact that your experience, what you feel in prayer and worship, does not demonstrate you are united with the Creator. In prayer and worship, the emotional experience felt within is strictly chemical. Your heightened emotional experience in prayer and worship depends upon where your mind is, not who your God is. No matter how big you think the God of your religion is, not one extra neuron will leap at his behest. Have you ever wondered about religion? What it is, where it comes from, and why people follow it? According to some assessments, there are over 4,000 religions in the world today. Monotheistic religions are humorous to say the least, because they come equipped with their own outdated science books, like the Torah, Bible, and Quran. So, what is religion? The Greek word for religion is threskia. This word is defined as worship as expressed in ritual acts, reverence of worship of God or the gods. Threskia, Strong's Exhaust Lexicon, G2356. Religion, in a nutshell, is a cultural system of practices, mythologies, worldviews, sacred texts, holy places, ethics, and societal organizations, which connects humanity to a delusional order of existence, like heaven, hell, holy water, holy places, and I can go on and on. I stated the connection is delusional because the monotheistic faiths of today, for example, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, are pure fictional. That is the figment of one's imagination. In this documentary, Religion, the Illusion of the Ages, we will discuss the topic religion in detail because, for us to begin to comprehend the social engineering perpetrated on the minds of the masses through monotheism, the notion of religion must be put to rest. Therefore, in our debunking religion, let the listener understand this video is not asserting there is no creator, but rather, there is no God of religion. One thing that should be understood in all of this is, religion does not bring its convert closer to the Creator, but rather, builds a wall that thwarts its convert from ever becoming one with the Creator. Someone would rebut this by saying, I know me and my God are one because I feel Him and experience Him in prayer and worship to the point that I am brought to tears. Question: because you are brought to tears during prayer and worship, does that really make your connection with the Creator real? In the religion Islam, many Muslims are brought to tears during prayer and worship. Likewise, in Christianity, many Christians are brought to tears during prayer and worship, but the Muslim God Allah and the Christian God Jesus are two totally different gods, bringing about the exact same reaction in their converts, that is, tears of joy. How can this be? Have you ever thought that maybe your tears experienced during prayer and worship service to your God are humanistic based and have nothing to do with you making a connection with the Creator? Logically speaking, thousands of years ago, during the worship of the ancient Greece pantheon gods of Mount Olympus, tears were brought to many people's eyes during prayer and worship. Was their connection with the Creator real? Of course not, for the pantheon gods that lived on Mount Olympus never really existed. But the people's tears were real. I conclude, the tears you experience in prayer and worship is not the result of a connection of oneness with the Creator. As we shall see with the unfolding of this documentary, if the Creator has any dealings with humanity, it is through intellect, not emotions. Emotions are a biological and psychological phenomenon based on the processes of the physicalities of the creature's makeup. Emotions are a conscious mental reaction, subjectively experienced as strong feelings, usually directed toward a specific object, and typically accompanied by psychological and behavioral changes in the body. Emotion, Merriam-Webster. When we attribute our human traits, for example, emotions, to the Creator, we anthropomorphize what is termed God. This is a humanization of the Creator. I call it a humiliation of the Creator. Anthropomorphism is defined this way: the attributing human characteristics and purposes to inanimate objects, animals, plants, or other natural phenomena, or God. Anthropomorphism, dictionary.com. If we don't attribute our eruption of emotions felt in prayer and worship to some sort of connection with the Creator, this question begs an answer. What exactly is going on within the worshiper during prayer and worship that brings about tears of joy? The emotional eruption, coupled with tears, felt within religious folk during prayer and worship, is usually interpreted by the worshiper as oneness, that is, a connection made with the Creator. But let the listener understand, as mentioned earlier in so many words, emotions are byproducts of physical reality, and have nothing to do with becoming one with or making a connection with the Creator. It is taught in religions, connections with the Creator occur through either a holy location or an emotional feeling. But becoming one with the Creator is not the result of a holy location or an outpouring of emotions. Unlike in the external realm, meaning physical reality, where closeness is dependent upon proximity, closeness in the internal realm of things speaks volumes to similarity, not proximity. An example is drawn from the circle and square concept. See box. In the box, the circle and the square are close in proximity, about 1 inch apart. In external or physical reality, we measure closeness by using proximities as our measuring rod. But this is not so in spiritual reality, a place where religious folk say, angels and demons dwell. In the internal or spiritual realm, close relationships and connections of oneness are founded upon similarities, never proximity and location. No man of religion will dispute, we humans are initially internal spiritual creatures, living day to day inside of external physical bodies, in an external physical world. But although we live in a physical world, because we are initially internal creatures, we correspond accordingly. Our closest friends are not based on how near they are to us in distance, proximities, but rather, our closest friends find their basis in similarities shared. This is to say, our closest friends find their basis in how many things found in common, similarities. In a nutshell, the things that make us similar, our likes and dislikes, makes us close spiritually. This also stands true for the creature and the Creator. The Creator is initially internal as well. Therefore, our closeness to the Creator is not determined by our location, for example, a holy place of worship, or by our emotional experiences, for example, an outburst of tears of joy. Oh no, no, no. Our closeness to, or oneness with the Creator is entirely dependent upon how similar we are to the Creator. As I started to show earlier, with the circle and the square, in external physical reality, the circle and square are close because of proximities. They are 1 inch apart in distance. What makes the circle and square close in internal reality is not the 1 inch distance in between them. In internal reality, there is no distance in between them, nor does the location inside the box the two geometric shapes share make them close, because in internal reality, there is no box the two geometric shapes share. But rather, the geometric shape's closeness is determined in the internal realm by the similarities of their properties. Although the circle and square appear different, even opposite in the physical, they are identical in the properties they both hold in the internal, which is 360 degrees. Although they teach that they are full of spirituality, monotheistic religions' approach to oneness and closeness with the Creator deals only with the physical. Their closeness is strictly based upon either localities, that is physical places, or emotions, which is the physical body. Therefore, as I stated earlier in so many words, religion does not bring its convert closer to the Creator, but rather builds a wall that thwarts its convert from ever reaching the Creator. For the religious participant in prayer and worship is deceived into believing by traveling to special holy places, or through an eruption of emotions, they are participating in oneness with the Creator. Essentialism, the spirit of religion. Essentialism from a religious aspect is to believe that sacred and evil essences can exist in the material world around us. The material world around us is nothing more than atoms, the building blocks of matter. In an essentialist way, religious folk view the world of matter with an additional dimension, that is, a dimension where material objects can hold sacred and evil properties. The following examples are drawn up of this phenomenon of the mind: a holy book, an evil widget board, a holy house, like a church, an evil symbol, like a six-pointed star, a holy symbol, like the cross, an evil color, like the color black, holy water, holy land, and the list can go on and on. Those who view the world through essentialism will respond in accordance with what seems to be evil and what seems to be sacred to them. Through the dimension of essentialism, the book you are holding and reading can acquire properties of being evil or sacred. But it is because one person can look at a book and call it holy, while another can look at the same book and call it evil. We conclude that essentialism is nothing more than an illusion. The book is neither holy nor evil. It is only a book until the conscious observer gives it these properties. Thus, one can believe it is holy today, then believe it is evil tomorrow. The person who looks at the Bible and deems it holy or evil allows a new dimension of reality to open up. It is a reality where material objects like books, symbols, and places possess sacred or evil properties. I call this place, where the essentialist viewer dwells, a newly opened reality because the viewer once existed at a time when he or she did not see material objects as possessing sacred and evil properties, for example, when the viewer was a child. Is this place, where the essentialist viewer mentally dwells, real? Partaking in the illusion of essentialism makes it real, because, as I mentioned earlier in so many words, real is just a construct of the mind. Essentialism is the foundation from whence every religion is built. Religion provides the framework and narrative, which allows people to try to put these so-called evil and sacred forces found in material objects together in a meaningful way. A few years back, a study was performed on the staff of the Royal Institution. Bruce Hood, one of Britain's leading psychologists, is the one who led the study. The test subject group of the Royal Institution was given an ink pen to pass around the room. It was told to the subjects that the ink pen was used by the late great physicist Albert Einstein, the very pen he used to write his general theory of relativity. The group held the pen and looked at it with homage and adoration as they passed it around the room to one another. Afterwards, the same subjects were given the sweater worn by the serial killer Jeffrey Dahmer. The subjects were told to pass it around. As the group passed the sweater around the room, they cringed at the sight of it, and some of the group subjects would not even touch it. Later, it was revealed to the group that neither the pen nor the sweater had really belonged to Albert Einstein and Jeffrey Dahmer. But although these two objects, a pen and sweater, were ordinary objects, the idea of one of the objects being good and the other evil controlled the way the group behaved when in the presence of the objects. Psychologist Bruce Hood concluded, without the planting of the idea into the subject's conscious, the subjects would have not responded to the objects in such a way. Essentialism turns cities into holy cities and books into holy books. Essentialism creates a new dimension that allows the conscious observer to partake in a world of holy and non-holy objects. Thus, we through essentialism can turn water into holy water. But this dimension of reality that is birthed through essentialism is only a construct of one's mind. The reason our minds partake in this phenomenon is to make sense of and give meaning to what would otherwise seem to be an arbitrary and random world of existence. The urge to find meaning and reason in our lives drove us to invent the gods of religion, for example, Amun-Ra of ancient Egypt, Jehovah from the ancient Hebrew teachings, Allah of the Arab world, and the list goes on. From scientific studies, we now know a lack of control over a situation, like let's say, life, encourages the mind to seek patterns of design in what otherwise would seem to be randomness. It is our instinctive sense to react to the situations we lack control over by making sense of the situations, even if it is a false understanding. Take the phenomenon of thunder, a rumbling or crashing threatening noise heard after a lightning flash due to the expansion of rapidly heated air. Before the phenomenon of thunder was scientifically understood, the Indian Hindus believed the source of the forces of thunder was Indra, the Hindu thunder god. In like manner, people see trends in the lottery numbers or the stock markets that does not truly exist. They will also see conspiracies around them that does not truly exist. The mind does this to bring light on subjects and situations we lack understanding in and control over. Jennifer Whitson, psychologist of the University of Texas, studies how human brains interpret meaning from signs and events around them. She devised a psychological study to try to understand why people might develop different mindsets. What her and her colleagues did was this. They got a group of participants and had a computer program set a series of paired symbols on several computer monitors. The computers generated these symbols using a special concept. It was the participants' job to figure out what that concept was. The participants did not receive any feedback whether they were correct or incorrect concerning their answers. This gave them complete control over the task. This task, however, was a calculated trick to get the participants in a secure frame of mind before the real test would begin, a test that would be given to them immediately after the warm-up test. The real test would be a searching for patterns and images of static. After the participants investigated the image of static, the questions asked of each participant was, "Do you see anything here in this image of static?" Yes or no? And if yes, what do you see? Upon taking this test, the participants saw the image of static as complete randomness and meaningless fuzz. Next, Jennifer repeated the test with a new group. But for their warm-up, Jennifer had pre-programmed the computers to utterly frustrate the test subjects. These participants would receive feedback continually telling them they are either correct or incorrect. Once the testing was done, the second group of subjects all believed they had utterly flunked the test. Next, they were given the real test, and when they began looking into the image of static, something amazing happened. Jennifer's study had concluded, because the second group looked at the image of static with the notion of having flunked the test, therefore, having a feeling that they were not in control of their surroundings, the second group said yes when asked if they could see anything in the image of static. The second group saw many things in the static image. Let the listener understand, because they were looking at a completely random image of static. The answer should have been no every time, like in the case of the first subjects. But amazingly, Group B found imaginary birds, chairs, cars, houses. Psychologist Jennifer Whitson's study concluded, when people lack control, they are more than likely to see shapes and concepts in complete randomness. Although Group B was looking at a random image of static, unlike Group A, who saw nothing but static. Group B subjects' lack of control of the situation at hand caused them to make some sort of sense out of the randomness of the static image. So, we search for the gods of religion somewhere out there in the randomness of reality, even as far as the outside of the universe. But the journey should begin in the brain, for this is where the concepts of the gods of religions originate. How does a God concept grow and become a part of one's reality? Once a God concept becomes an idea, the God of your religion will be reflected into the four corners of your reality through essentialism. This is why people can have many ideas of God, with their God seeming just as real as the next person's God. But these God concepts created by religion are nothing more than ideas that originate in a brain seeking meaning as well as control. The story is told of an ancient man living in ancient times. His beloved mother has died. The ancient man ponders on the fact that his beloved mother's body is before him, but what makes her uniquely her is gone from her body. Where do we go when we leave our bodies? The ancient man asks himself, I must know, for this fate will one day befall me, as it has befallen so many I have loved and known. As the ancient man looks around at the world he lives in, and tries to make sense of this great unknown pool of randomness called reality, concepts are birthed in his mind of a place we all will go when we die. But the place he conjures up in his head is not just any place, but rather, a very great and wonderful place. The human brain's program is not in the business of creating concepts in you to manifest anxiety and stress, but the very opposite. Yes, the ancient man says, my mother has gone to a great place where all the sorrows of this world no longer exist. This new dimension of reality is now birthed in the ancient man's brain, making it nothing more than a construct of his mind, and all that partake in his newly developed idea can partake in his vision, that is, a newly formed dimension of reality. There is only but one truth, but there are many versions of that truth. If you believe in the truths found in the Abrahamic faiths, Christianity, Judaism, and Islam, your ideas of God and the life hereafter were given to you from those who lived before you, that being, your ancestors. The ancient ideas you hold in your head were planted into your consciousness as concepts of how God and reality is and works. But just because a religious concept is ancient, this does not make it the ultimate truth. This is of a truth. If you were born and raised in Israel, you would more than likely follow Judaism. For most people living in Israel follow Judaism. This is a statistical fact. If you were born and raised in Cambodia, you would more than likely follow Buddhism. If you were born and raised in America, you would more than likely follow Christianity. If you were born and raised in the Middle East, you would more than likely follow Islam. If you were born and raised in Australia, you would more than likely follow Catholicism. Can you not see these religious concepts are not divinely given to you? Your beliefs are products of your geographic position on the planet, and it is like that for almost everyone with a few exceptions of the norm. Some would say these few exceptions have it built within them to naturally go against the grain. But if you do escape the religious jacket of your immediate environment, you've only escaped wearing that particular coat to put on another one of the many coats concepts of religions found in the world. As I stated in the very beginning of this documentary, there is an estimated 4,000 religions in the world today. And as I will show, there's nothing uniquely special or miraculous about them. They are mere concepts of God you have inherited from those before you. They are all planted ideas, with your brain being the soil from which the flower of essentialism blossoms. These ideas are inescapable ideas because you have nothing original at your disposal to grasp hold to. What I mean is, most people today have forgotten how to think on their own, especially in the Western world. From our youth we are taught to memorize instead of think. Most of us go through school memorizing everything, and then we are graded on how well we memorize. If you are one who wishes to grow in the mysteries of life, you must first stop memorizing your ancestors' concepts of religion and start to think on your own. Because religion, in a nutshell, is a lie. A denial of gathered facts, which makes it a denial of reality. Thinking on your own consists of taking all information life has to offer. That is, all you have available to you, sciences, religions, metaphysics, and especially experiential knowledge. Then coming to your own conclusion, your own truth, your own version of it. It was Benjamin Stewart who once said, "Everyone will tell you be aware of this and watch out for that. This is good information. This is bad information." And I just have to wonder what makes anyone an authority figure enough to say that something is true or false. And why are you denying or accepting anything based on the suggestion of another person? Why aren't you making that decision for yourself? Information is information. There's no such thing as good or bad information. It's all what you do with it. I say, let everything be your Bible. Give every piece of information, every person, every event, or scenario, or situation, an honest and open mind. Because then it's your responsibility to respond to it in the way that you choose. Not following the herd, not following the convention. It's your responsibility. If there is a universal God force, and I believe there is, can it be fully conceived by a finite brain that cannot even download all that it has taken in at any given moment in time? I imagine whatever the Creator might be, it is too infinite, while at the same time the capacity of our conscious awareness is too restricted to fully conceive it. With that being stated, let the listener understand, in your search for truth, you will more than likely not obtain a full complete truth of the Creator and reality while in this life. But a true and complete concept of God and reality is quite all right. I would rather have the incomplete version of the truth than a complete lie. But it is those of a religious mindset who say, "I know the concept of God I hold is the ultimate truth," but they know nothing. When it is asked of the person of religion, how do they know assuredly what they believe concerning God is the truth? They usually reply in so many words that a prophet they never met who supposedly lived over 1,000 years ago got the insight directly from God and relayed it to them in a book, or scroll, or whatever. Now, mind you, this is not impossible, but the probability is slim. Can you not see how absurd it would be to put your whole being of existence on a notion from a person you never met, who may have never received anything from God? The man of religion would say that's blasphemy because he takes every word of his Bible as the ultimate truth. So let's take a quick but intense look at his Bible to see just how true it is. The first 5 books of the Christian's Bible is actually one book, a Jewish book called Torah. Ironically, Adolf Hitler called Torah the Jewish book of lies. The Torah has a Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy section within its text. It is believed and taught that Torah was written by the Hebrew prophet Moses. Therefore, to believe the book is the truth from God is to believe in the words of Moses, as he was either inspired or instructed by God on what to write. I once asked a pastor, how could Moses write the Genesis account, which speaks about the first humans created, if he wasn't there in the Genesis account's beginning? I asked, how could Moses know what happened thousands of years before he was born? The pastor replied, with a peaceful, religious tone, it is true, Moses was not in the beginning of creation, Therefore, God had to tell Moses what to write. I then asked the pastor, "Where is it written? God told Moses what to write. What book can I find that in?" The pastor replied, "It doesn't state in scripture God told Moses what to write. We just know he did because it is the only way Moses could have divinely known of everything that took place in the creation of the world. Things that happened thousands of years before he was born." With the reasoning of the pastor, who could dispute him? But the truth of the matter is, Moses did not write the Torah. A close observation of Torah, which might involve a little thinking, a little brain power, will show that the entire book is written in third person. If Moses had written Torah, the book would not read, "And the Lord said unto Moses, and Moses said unto the Lord." The phrases, "Moses said unto the Lord," and "the Lord said unto Moses" is written over 100 times in the Torah account. These phrases are clear indications that someone wrote the Torah about the Lord and Moses. It is evident that there is a third party writing the story. Also, in the 5th section of Torah, the section called Deuteronomy, Moses' death is mentioned there. The only way Moses could have accomplished writing the Torah is if he came back from the dead to write about the death he experienced. This is not at all likely. The Bible passage concerning Moses' death reads as such. "So Moses the servant of the Lord died there in the land of Moab, according to the word of the Lord. And he buried him in a valley in the land of Moab, over against Beth Peor. But no man knows of his sepulchre unto this day." Deuteronomy 34, verses 5 and 6. Those that are in search of a God, truth, and the purpose of life, it is time for you to think on your own accord concerning these things. The religious fool would say, "Yes, I follow a religion inherited from those of old, my ancestors, but I have not stopped thinking for myself." My response to that person would be, if you follow, let's say, Islam, you have not begun to think. You have stopped your search for God and have accepted the belief that you have found God. You are memorizing. Your road of search has been abandoned and you have jumped on another road. A road made long before you, and in many cases, made for you by those of old. You are like the woman who was hitchhiking to California and found herself in New York. The moral of the story: walk that road to God alone and you will get where you are trying to go. Stop hitchhiking. Stop using and memorizing other people-created concepts and begin to use your own mind in putting the pieces of the puzzle of God and life together. As I mentioned earlier in so many words, incompleteness with continual evolution of understanding is the only logical way to travel. But it is through the desire of having every piece of the puzzle of life put in its proper place right here and right now that causes us to grasp hold to concepts from the past, which sound well and absolute, but are not. It is through our desire of having every piece of the puzzle of life put in its proper place here and now that causes us to drop conceptions out of things we don't truly understand. And it is because of a lack of fulfillment we call these concepts facts. Thus, we birth imaginary concepts in our minds, essentialism, and push these concepts out as factual, even fooling ourselves. It is okay not to know all the truth now. What is important is to stay on the right road, that is, your road, and keep thinking. This way you will continually evolve towards the untainted truth, which is a truth that extends from you. When all knowable information is taken in, that is, that which is truth along with the lies and cover-ups, then are you able to think as a free thinker. Then are you able to birth an original thought. Then are you able to see the ultimate truth of God unfold. Someone once asked me, who or what is God? To be perfectly honest, I am not exactly sure who or what is the creator of the universe. It is quite all right to wonder about it. That desire to know, called curiosity, causes us to do just that. But once we give our speculations definite reality and dimension by saying things like, this is definitely the way God and life is and works, and there is no other way, we lose out in a gigantic way. Reason being, we shut our minds down that we are not able to receive the rest of the pieces of the puzzle. We close and lock the doors of our minds, closing ourselves in rooms that are not fully furnished. Let the listener understand, the brain processes 400 billion bits of information every second, but we are only consciously aware of some 2,000 bits of that information. Those 2,000 bits of information we are conscious of is only about our environment, our bodies and time. Thus, we only consciously perceive the tip of the iceberg. To draw up a concept and birth it as an ideology to live and die for when we did not hold all the pieces to the puzzle is absurd. It is like trying to put a 400 billion piece jigsaw puzzle together when you only possess 2,000 pieces. And it is insanely ludicrous to use our imaginations to fill in the empty spaces of the puzzle, then call it fact. We must understand we are optimistically growing towards the knowledge of what is termed God and truth. We can speculate while we grow. But when we do more than speculate, religions are born. All the three major religions of the world teach that their God is a God of order. If your belief system is divinely given by a God of order for the purpose of manifesting order, why is this order not manifest in your religion? The order that's supposed to illuminate from your God is not seen in your people as a whole, that is, as a nation on earth. This order is not even seen in the settings of your congregations when you group together on your holy day. If you are truly honest with yourself, you will see that you did not even find this holy sanctified structure of order within your individual self. Concerning Christians, how can you find this Christly order within yourselves when your head, the biggest leader of the Christian faith short of Jesus, that is, the legendary Apostle Paul stated in his letter to the Church of Rome that a continual war was waging within him, the writer of more books in the Bible than any of its other authors, stated in so many words, a war to do what was right and what was wrong, waged on in him. He wrote this to the Romans while he was a Christian and an apostle of Christianity. See the Bible's book of Romans, chapter 7, verse 19. Logically speaking, we count that things are true because they work, and things work because they are true. Therefore, if the thing does not work, it is because the thing is not true. If this holy order has not manifested in the 2,000 years of Christianity's existence, do you not think it would be wise to examine the concept you are following? It would be illogical to make up new concepts in your mind concerning why the order has not yet been made manifest. In accordance with the Christian doctrine, Jesus walked a sinless walk, and then gave you, the believers, the power to do the same through the Holy Spirit. But none of you are walking this sinless walk. To keep the concept of Christianity alive in your head, the mind will make excuses to explain why you are not able to achieve the sinless walk. I have heard a Christian even say, "Oh, Jesus meant he wanted us to just sin less and less, but not be sinless." Any concept conjured up that speaks against the Christian walking a sinless walk while living on earth is a contradiction to the doctrine of Christianity because, concerning the Christian doctrine, Jesus came to die for your sins and give you the power through the Holy Spirit to walk the sinless walk. This sinless life, none of you that follow and profess Jesus walks it. Look around, you see no one doing what the Bible character Jesus was doing, that is, walking a sinless walk. Most people take these religious systems on face value that they work, but when put under the microscope, they see a completely different story. Have you ever asked yourself, why I believe in this teaching and where did it come from? When dealing with knowledge, concepts, and ideas, they should never be taken in lightly, but rather examined in the context of who we find it out from, where we are in our mindset when we find it out, what form it is coming in, what other ideas it is connected to. All these are just as important as the abstract notion of the knowledge. Rethinking what we already know in our search for the truth is necessary in finding out if we possess truth, a part of the truth, or a complete lie. I am sick, and knowledge of the truth concerning God and life is the only antidote. I will not be complete until I know and experience all I need. Until then, more knowledge, more wisdom, and more understanding of the ultimate truth. This will treat my symptoms, filling my gaps, that is, those empty spaces on the jigsaw board of my soul. Religion, on the other hand, teaches its disciples, you have all of the truth already. Therefore, I say continually, the religious folk are sick and don't even know it. Religious folk refuse to look at the symptoms of a flawed idea. It is as the old saying goes, the doctor does not need a physician. Religion seems to scream out, all you need to know is found in the concept of your belief system. Religion says with confidence, forget about the missing pieces of the jigsaw board. These things cannot be known anyway. It is as the New Testament Bible states concerning Jesus. In him dwells all of the Godhead bodily, and you are complete in him. Colossians 2:9 and 10. Christianity basically tells its converts, your search is over. You have no need to look any farther, because all your answers can be found in Jesus. And if you happen to run across something in religion that you do not understand, or something that is nonsensical or contradictory, for example, your inability to walk the sinless walk, Christianity, like the other flawed religions of today, will tell you, don't ponder on it, because some things are only reserved for God to know. This is a picture of the Egyptian Ankh. In ancient Egypt, it was observed as the key of life. Here's the Ankh shown, with its 4 facets, describing the 4 fundamental elements of the human life: the body, the soul, the spirit, and subconscious. Within this powerful ancient symbol lies the secrets to who we are and why we are here. Let the viewer understand, you are consciousness, that is, a program of awareness that equates to perception of a given situation. And as consciousness, in this reality, we operate through 2 facets. 1. A corporeal soul program, founded on feminine energy, the negative pole of reality. 2. A corporeal body program, founded on masculine energy, the positive pole of reality. The body and the soul are both corporeal, that is the same in the sense that they are both made of the same substance, energy. They only differentiate in frequency, that is, degrees of vibration, and in their programming. The human avatar, the human body and head, the 2 parts of a human that house the biological program and a psychological program, for the purpose of experience. The components of the programs are represented by the division of colors within the life key drawing in the center of the picture. The 7 colors of the right arm of the life key represent the creation of the physical manifestation of the body. Its substance and complete condition is built upon the 7 colors shown on the right arm of the life key. The left arm of the life key, the soul program, is represented by 5 colors in the life key drawing. Its substance and complete condition is built upon the 5 colors shown on the left arm of the life key. The energies of the right and left arm are matter and antimatter, and are united and stored in the 0 zone, or spirit, at the bottom of the life key. The ring on top of the life key represents the subconscious. It harmonizes or balances the scales. It is imperative for the viewer to understand that you are not a body or a soul, but rather, you are consciousness, and you are capable of existence without the body and soul programs. We only use the tools, body and soul, to gather experiences, or better yet, to experience the information provided by this reality, with the objective of building up a spiritual body for the next higher plane of life. As I stated earlier in so many words, the layout plans for the human avatar body format is seen in the Egyptian's life key, the Ankh. Each of the 4 facets of the Ankh plays a major role in the development of the conscious observer, and concerning the 4 facets of the life key, all forms of intelligent life on Earth arise with this same pattern. Body. The right arm of the life key works like the positively charged proton of an atom, representing material, the corporeal composition of the human, its body. The human body is an atomic molecular program with 5 built-in external sensors. The 5 sensors include hearing, tasting, touching, smelling, and seeing. Soul. The left arm of the life key works like the negatively charged electron of an atom, representing non-material. Simply put, it is the main programming of the corporeal composition of the human, its soul. The human soul is an anti-material program of 5 ultraminds. These 5 ultraminds or levels of soul work much like our corporeal 5 senses in the sense that, depending upon which level of soul you stand in and operate out of, will determine how you perceive a given situation. The 5 ultraminds are called in the Hebrew language, Nefesh, Ruach, Neshama, Shaya, and Yichada. Spirit. The lower body section of the life key, its 0 charged zone, or spirit, supports the 2 upper arms, which equates to the body and soul of the creature. This lower section of the life key is the spiritual body of the human avatar and works like the neutron of an atom. Within the 0 zone, that is, the spirit of the creature, the experiences of the right and left upper arms are gathered. This is to say, the body and the soul, or rather, the biological and psychological life experiences, are united in the zero zone. The energy patterns that are stored in the zero zone remain in operation throughout carnation. Thus, the zero zone, the human spirit, is pulsing with life and expression. The spirit body within the avatar is being fashioned during carnation for the next higher plane of life. In reincarnations, it is the spirit program that is given to the newly reincarnated avatar body to continue consciousness development in this reality. Subconscious, the ringed head of the life key represents the subconsciousness, not the conscious observer. It is the subconscious that keeps the three facets of the human being, its body, soul, and spirit intact. It harmonizes and balances the scales. The subconscious looks after its tools and is responsible that none of these three facets of the human destroys itself independently from its life experiences. The role of subconsciousness within the life key pattern is indispensable. Consciousness in the great planes of life. Let the viewer understand, consciousness is a field that is all around us. It also resides inside all of what we term physical reality, from the human avatar body all the way down the scale to the microbe and even atoms that make up the many avatar forms on Earth. Although the atom can be broken down into even smaller units. According to esoteric philosophy, it is the atom that is the first unit of consciousness in a complete unified physical body form. In accordance with the esoteric philosophies of the ancient Egyptians and ancient Babylonians, there is only one consciousness, and this consciousness has been symbolically shattered like a mirror into pieces, creating the illusion of division and individualism within psychological creatures on Earth. But individualism is an illusion. There is only one consciousness, from whence we all have our dealings. The illusion of individualism we experience comes through the 4 billion gigabytes of information your brain processes every moment you're awake, for the sole purpose of your conscious experience. With so much stimulus and inducement bombarding the creature, it was necessary for a character, a self, to be generated as a summary of the complexity of the output of reality, to keep track of, as well as to refine the conscious experience. Thus, an anomaly, a conscious observer, emerges out of the great aggregation. Scientific studies and experiments concur, this emergence of a self, and thus, individualism, occurs with us all between the ages of 2 and 4. But, this so-called individualism is not real, for we are all one consciousness, like many drops of water making up an ocean. If consciousness was an ocean, the conscious observer could be compared to one of the many waves of that ocean. The 4 great planes of reality. There are 4 great planes, from whence consciousness resides in our reality. The 4 great planes of reality are: 1. The great plane of chemistry, atoms to cells. 2. The great plane of biology, cells to animals. 3. The great plane of psychology, animals to humans. 4. The great plane of metaphysics, humans to angelic. Note, everything vibrates, everything is in motion. The higher the plane of life, the higher the vibratory factors that occupy that plane, and thus, the higher the experience of life is revealed to consciousness. Consciousness finds its limitations within the lower vibrating body forms. For example, atoms, the first complete unified body, which vibrates at the lowest frequency in the universe. But when brought together in union with other atoms, the frequency grows. The secret mystery schools of ancient Egypt and Babylon taught, the mind, that is, our thoughts, vibrates at the highest frequencies in our reality. This is because the brain, the CPU of the avatar body, houses neuron cells, and neurons differ from other cells in the body because neurons have specialized cell components called dendrites and axons. Dendrites bring electrical signals to the cell body while axons take information away from the cell body. Neurons communicate with each other through an electrochemical process. Thus, the more neuron cells a brain houses, depending upon the weight of the creature and the location of the neurons within the brain, the more of the great mental plane of life, that is, the great plane of psychology, can be apprehended and thus experienced by consciousness. There is a higher vibratory factor, or higher frequency level than that of psychology. But these frequencies have their dwellings with what religion terms the angelic realm, that is, the great plane of metaphysics. Neurons don't equate to consciousness. May the viewer understand, we are consciousness. We are not bodily creatures having a spiritual experience, but on the contrary, we are spiritual creatures having a bodily experience. I once heard someone say, consciousness is all in the head. I replied, consciousness is not all in the head, meaning the brain. The person that stated the initial remark said to me, show and prove. I responded by saying, take the planarian worm for an example. The planarian worm is one of many flatworms of the Turbellaria class. This worm is definitely conscious, that is, aware of its surroundings. Yet, if you were to cut the head off a planarian worm where the brain of the worm resides, it would grow another head and brain. It will remain conscious while growing another head. Therefore, consciousness is not just housed in the head. The 5 levels to the soul program. Earlier we discussed the avatar body and soul program. The 5 levels of soul programming should not be confused with consciousness. As opposed to consciousness being everywhere, the soul program, the mind, is all in the head. The soul mind is a part of the brain. The brain of the creature works like computer hardware, the machinery, whereas the soul mind of the creature works as the software. The soul, as well as the body, is what gives you the illusionary notion of a self. Your body and soul is the result of the complexity of the output of reality mentioned earlier. Everything you see, touch, taste, smell, and hear are electrical signals interpreted by your brain, the central processing unit in your head. And to take it one step further, all is of a holographic persuasion. It is as Stanford University's physicist professor, Leonard Susskind once stated. In a certain peculiar sense, the world is a hologram. But this is another topic for another time. Your consciousness, your soul, is an anti-material program of 5 ultra minds. And as stated earlier, these 5 ultra minds or levels of soul work much like our 5 biological senses in the sense that, depending upon which level of soul the conscious observer operates out of, will determine how the conscious observer will perceive a given situation and thus experience that situation. Before we discuss the different levels of soul, it should be noted that the soul is corporeal, meaning it is a part of physical reality because it is a byproduct of the body, that is, the brain. The soul mind is the result of electrical signals produced by neuron cells through the stimuli of physical existence. The soul, the mind, the psyche, the imagination, involve the highest frequencies of physical reality because the soul psyche is activated by the brain and its gathering of neuron cells. The brain with its neuron cells are the avatar's central processing unit, CPU. Your brain is a 3-pound, estimated 1 million gigabyte, quantum computer hard drive of wonder, which receives the atomic information of its environment via photons and processes it in an instant. The human brain is basically an electric web of billions of neuron cells wired together, encased in your head. But still, in this dark, secluded place, these billions upon billions of neuron cells are able to put together reality for you. We know our brains run on electrical impulses because every time we move or make a decision, electricity is buzzing amongst our brain cells. Psychologist and neurologist Mark George has stated, electricity is the currency of the brain. All thought, all beliefs, all actions are just electrical impulses. Therefore, the soul mind or psyche is not non-corporeal, but rather a physical phenomenon in relation to neuron cells and their production of electrical impulses. Consciousness, on the other hand, is strictly non-corporeal. There is nothing physical about the true you. Even when we use brain imagery apparatuses to probe the thoughts of a person, and by doing so, receive actual neurological activity readouts from the thoughts of that person, still, the imagery readout is only looking at the corporeal outside shell of the thing. The soul, that is, our thoughts and imagination, definitely possess a physical, measurable, observable core in it that can be measured by scientific instruments. But these readouts are not the same as the conscious experience of actually having those thoughts. The imagery readout and the conscious experience are 2 sides of the same coin, that is, the inside and the outside of the thing. As mentioned earlier, everything vibrates, and in reference to the soul-mind program, the vibratory factors it takes to produce a thought are of the highest frequency of our physical reality. 5 soul programs. As mentioned earlier, the 5 ultraminds of the human soul program are called in the Hebrew language 1. Nefesh, 2. Ruach, 3. Neshama, 4. Chaya, and 5. Yechadat. First level of soul, Nefesh, knowledge. The Nefesh soul stage is the lowest level of soul programming, from whence experiences from this reality are gathered. The Hebrew word, Nefesh, occurs 43 times in the Bible's Genesis account, and is derived from the root word, napash, properly, a breathing creature, in reference to an animal. It is literally defined, soul, and can also be translated as life, desire, appetite. Strong's H5315. The Hebrew word, nefesh, gives reference to the soul in an animalistic aspect. Thus, it is called in Hindu, the lower nature, that which is linked to animal-like instincts and bodily cravings. The Nefesh soul program gives consciousness the awareness of the physical body and the physical world. However, this awareness of the physical body and physical world is an awareness in a passive sense. It is nonsensical. It is merely an observation of the facts, like an infant baby observing its surroundings. As you put the glittery colored hot iron in the reach of the infant, it will continually reach for it and get burned over and over. Every living creature on earth that has a brain possesses a soul-mind program on the level of Nefesh. The Nefesh soul program is the life force of the avatar body. In the Jewish book termed Zohar, a Kabbalist work, it states, when a person is born, he is given a Nefesh. Second level of soul, Ruach, wisdom. The Ruach soul stage is the second level of soul programming, from whence experiences from this reality are gathered. The Hebrew word, Ruach, occurs 11 times in the Bible's Genesis account, and gives reference to wisdom, which is applied knowledge. The Ruach soul level also brings with it an arousal, or should I say, an awakening of biological and psychological emotions, for example, love, sadness, and anger. In other words, emotions are activated within the Ruach soul programming. The Hebrew word, Ruach, is defined figuratively, life, anger, by a resemblance spirit, but only of a rational being including its expression and functions. Strong's H7307. The Ruach soul program begins in the human at the toddler's age, where the infant will continue to grab the hot iron because it can only function within the first level of soul, the Nefesh soul program. The toddler in the Ruach soul programming will gather the wisdom to stay away from it. All it will take is being burned once for the toddler to view the hot iron as danger. Therefore, the Ruach soul is a program where one is continually taking mental notations of one's surroundings, while drawing conclusions and adding the conclusions to their database for future observations and interactions, that is, for future experiences. Humanity and the rest of the world's animal kingdom possess a Ruach soul program. But at this second level of soul programming is where the animal kingdom's program ascension halts. Third level of soul, Neshama, understanding. The Neshama soul stage is the third level of soul programming, from whence experiences from this reality are gathered. The primary activity of the Neshama soul mind program is in the conceptual grasp of intellect. The Hebrew word, Neshama, occurs 2 times in the Bible's Genesis account and gives reference to intellect, which is the faculty of reasoning and understanding objectively. Intellect, Google definition. The Neshama program is all about understanding, all about putting the pieces of the puzzle of reality together. Where the Nefesh avatar is burned continually by the hot iron, and the Ruach avatar stays away from the danger, the Neshama avatar seeks to understand why the iron is hot, what makes it hot, what is heat. The Neshama program within the adult human avatar is a level of soul-mind programming that ascends beyond the previous 2 programs in the sense of mental activity, and thus separates humanity from the other classes of creatures on earth. In the Bible's book of Genesis, chapter 2, verse 7, it is recorded that the God of Genesis breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living soul. Unlike the word breath, in Genesis chapter 6, verse 17, which is taken from the Noah's Ark story, and is translated from the Hebrew word ruach, and gives reference to the animal kingdom's ruach soul program, The word breath in Genesis chapter 2 verse 7 references Adam in the Garden of Eden, and is translated from the Hebrew word neshama, the third level of soul programming. Here we see in the Genesis allegorical epic of creation, the neshama soul program is associated with the creation of human, being termed the breath of life. When the Genesis account speaks of the creation of the first man, it states in so many words, the God of Genesis gave the man intellect, because the Hebrew word neshama, translated as breath in the Genesis account, literally means intellect, Strong's H5397. The unique thing given to humans, termed by some the gift and the curse, was the power to not just make a choice, but perceive choice, which comes with intelligence. This comes with the neshama soul program. The neshama program within the human avatar allows the conscious observer to analyze underlying principles abstracted from multitudes of categories of thoughts imposed upon it by the neshama soul mind program, as well as human experiences. Fourth level of soul, chaya, overstanding. The chaya soul stage is the fourth and final level of soul programming, from whence experiences from this reality are gathered. The primary activity of the chaya soul mind is enlightenment. Therefore, the chaya soul cannot be detained within the human body until the experiences are gathered from the first three soul programs, and then are considered by the conscious observer as mundane. Thus, the chaya soul seeks to go beyond the ephemeral rudiment principles of life in search of overstanding. May the viewer comprehend the difference between understanding and overstanding. The idea of understanding is given in the illustration of the man who stands under the bridge and sees the screws, bolts, beams, and all the materials that hold the structure fastened in place. He understands why the structure doesn't cave in under itself. Overstanding, however, is found in the same man who stands over the bridge. The man having a bird's eye view can now see the function and purpose of the bridge. The soul programming of chaya seeks to pierce the curtain of life in order to see what's backstage, what's pulling the strings, what life is, what life's purpose is. The chaya soul mind program looks at the world from the former three soul programs, nefesh, ruach, and neshama, and says, there must be more to life than this. Thus, as I stated earlier, the fourth and final level of soul programming within the avatar body, the chaya program looks at the world at hand and considers it mundane. This soul program seeks more than the rudiment principles of life. The Hebrew word, chaya, is defined suffer to live, revive, repair, restore, to life, Strong's H2421. This fourth level of soul goes beyond the third level of soul, which is the neshama soul program, because it elevates with a complete nullification of the ego, which is selfishness. Whereas the primary activity of the third level of soul, the neshama program, is to use intellectual comprehension in order to come to communion with the concept or idea of life. This is to say, the gathering of the meaning of life and universe. The fourth soul level, chaya, allows the creature to commune with the creator of the universe, as the creature's mind transcends all creation. Therefore, the fourth soul allows the creature to view and experience what religion calls eternal life. That is, life on a much grander scale than that of the first three levels of soul programming. We tend to think of eternal life only as an everlasting existence. Eternal life gives reference to the quality of life, much more so than its quantity. The chaya soul allows the conscious observer to perceive the homeostatic oneness of the universe and be illuminated by its connection to the grand scale of oneness. The culmination of the first four soul levels, nefesh, ruach, neshama, and then chaya, inevitably results in yechada, that is Godhead. Fifth level of soul, yechada, Godhead. Yechada occurs when the four prior soul levels are completed. Yechada exhibits God consciousness and is termed in a variety of religious texts as the Godhead. Yechada, the Godhead, is the culmination of the four prior soul programs. It is the combining of the four and equates to having a mindset of the Creator, which is a mindset of bestowal, selflessness. To reach this fifth and final soul program is our purpose in life. We are born with a nefesh soul program, but the ultimate goal is psychada, the Godhead. The nefesh is a receiving program of selfishness, but a necessary program, in order to pull in and experience all aspects of life. But only when we unlock the yechada program in us, can we enter the next stage of life. It is taught in Pauline Christianity that Jesus, the Christian's Christ, possessed the fullness of Godhead bodily. See the Bible's Colossians, chapter 2 verse 9. And it is written in the Jewish Psalms, humanity is destined to possess this Godhead as well. See the Bible's Psalms, chapter 8 verse 5. Yechada, the Godhead level of soul programming, is described in esoteric thought as a spark of the Creator enclosed within a spark of the created. Thus, the prior 4 levels of soul can be described as 4 ascending levels of awareness, to gather experience in this reality, in order to reach Godhead. The ability to reach Godhead is what separates humanity from the rest of Earth's animal kingdom. Reaching the final 5th level of soul, Yechada, the Godhead, is accompanied with a new avatar body for the next higher stage of life. The new body, partaken by the conscious observer, once the 4th level of soul programming is obtained and completed, is what the ideologies of the Far East term a diamond body, what Neo-Theosophy term an etheric body, and what Christian theology term a resurrected body and a raptured body. Consciousness is in everything physical. The purpose of what we term physical life, that is, atoms, cells, plants, trees, and the great variety of avatar body types, is to house consciousness, as consciousness comes in contact with, and learn about, what we term reality. The climb of consciousness through the 4 levels of soul programming, and the 4 great planes of reality, are all for the attainment of experience, with the goal of becoming Godhead, your natural state of being. Again I state, obtaining Yechada, completion, the 5th level of soul programming, the Godhead, comes by obtaining a mindset of complete selflessness. Yes, selflessness is the mountain of life one must climb in becoming complete. Finally, I will wind up this documentary by stating again, there are 5 levels of soul programming to be obtained within the human avatar body. The first 4 levels are for the reality we presently reside in, and there is a final 5th level for the next higher stage of life. The human avatar body is equipped to house the first 4 soul programs. Once the 4th level is reached and then completed, it becomes the 5th soul program. Thanks for watching our documentary. If you would like to see more documentaries like this, support our channel by smashing the like and subscribe buttons. All inserts within this documentary were taken from Michael Cage bestseller, Illuminati Bible, Hidden Wisdom of Alpha and Omega, available at Amazon and all fine bookstores.